Welcome back. Any moment now we're expecting to hear from British Prime Minister Theresa May and German Chancellor Angela Merkel. The two leaders are meeting in Berlin. It's Theresa May's first international visit since taking on her new role. And according to the Prime Minister's office, she plans to insist that Britain needs time to negotiate its exit from the European Union. She was asked about those negotiations during her first session of Prime Minister's questions in the House of Commons.
I'm very clear Brexit does mean Brexit. As he says, we will make a success of it. What we need to do in negotiating the deal is to ensure that we listen to what people have said about the need for controls on free movement, but we also negotiate the right deal and the best deal of trade in goods and services for the British people.
These are some live pictures where the German leader and British Prime Minister will take to those podiums shortly. We will cover that when it happens. For now, we are covering this from all sides. We've got our CNN political contributor, Robert Oakley, with us from London. And we're also joined by our senior international correspondent, Tika Schubert, in Berlin. First to you, Robin. We saw this morning the red carpet rolled out for Theresa May in Berlin as she was greeted by Germany's leader, Angela Merkel. How should Theresa May play her hand when the two sit down to talk?
Very, very carefully, I think, is the answer to that. She's got to strike up a good working relationship with Angela Merkel. Some of the gloss may have rubbed off Angela Merkel over the last year or two, but she is still the most powerful politician in Europe. And she's very important to Theresa May because Angela Merkel and Germany in general have made more generous sounds about Britain's Brexit intentions than some of the others. There's been quite a lot of aggression from some other EU leaders, almost rejoicing at Britain's departure. Angela Merkel is crucial to any hopes of getting a deal at the end of the day. But that said, she has insisted that Britain must get on with it fast, must trigger Article 50, which sets off the official negotiation process of 2 years. So Theresa May has got to really make her case to Angela Merkel as to why she should be allowed a little bit of time to get Britain's case together and to see the shape of the kind of deal they will be looking for, Linda.
Robin, these two women both seemed like quite pragmatic, no-nonsense sort of leaders. What do they have in common and how will that work in Theresa May's favour?
Well, they're both workaholics. They're both serious-minded people who don't do a lot of schmoozing and a lot of sort of modern media attention like some other politicians. They are get-on-with-the-job kind of politicians. But Theresa May perhaps has surprised us all by a hugely sweeping cabinet reshuffle when she came into office. She immediately dived in and handled the debate on Britain's continuing nuclear deterrent. She's just had a very forceful appearance at her first Prime Minister's question time. She is clearly going to be a figure to take note of in the future. People have been impressed with her start, and I think Angela Merkel will react to that and will notice that she is getting to meet a very serious politician who is going to have quite a part to play, even though Britain comes out of the EU, because Theresa May is insisting that although Britain comes out of the EU, it's still going to have important relations with all its current EU partners on an individual basis and still play a part in the world, UN Security Council, NATO, all the rest of it, Linda.
And you mentioned that Theresa May took her first question time as Prime Minister. We are seeing some pictures of her in the House of Commons. She did try to reassure people that she will make a success of the Brexit. Just how optimistic are people there right now?
Well, they're not terribly optimistic at the moment because so little is known about the shape of what deal. You know, OK, Britain had a referendum, voted to come out of the European Union, but I think most people had expected the vote to go the other way. Nobody seems to have been very prepared for the result. The three Brexiteers, as they're being called, the three ministers who Theresa May has put in charge of taking Britain out of the European Union, they're only assembling their teams. They're competing across Whitehall in all the departments here to get the best civil servants to start making the case. But at the moment, they're just ordering the computers and putting the chairs in the offices. They haven't really had time to get down to serious detail on the negotiations. Nobody really knows what's going on. And as the Parliament goes off for the holidays shortly, I think people are in pretty much of a fog as to what is going to come out of these negotiations, Linda.
Yeah, no doubt. Robin, stand by for us. I want to go to Atika Schubert now in Berlin. Atika, Chancellor Merkel used to tell former British Prime Minister David Cameron that Britain was the EU's problem child. Is it fair to say that she still feels that way?
I think German Chancellor Angela Merkel has many problem childs in the EU right now. The Greek debt crisis was one that really strained the EU, and then of course the refugee crisis. This is just the next crisis to come along, and I think that Chancellor Merkel is looking for as many allies as she can get to try and get over these crises as quickly and as smoothly as possible. So she's looking as well to start a good relationship with Prime Minister Theresa May, and they have a lot in common. So there is the possibility for a good working start here, but it's going to take time, and they're going to need to be candid and frank with each other because it's going to be very tough negotiations ahead. So this is just the start of that relationship, and hopefully it's a good one.
And Atika, the new British Prime Minister Theresa May will also meet with the French President tomorrow. No doubt both the German and French leaders are under pressure domestically to drive a hard bargain, especially given that they both face re-election next year.
They do. They're under a lot of public and political pressure here. But I think Francois Hollande has been the one who's taken a tougher line, saying that, indicating that there should be an example made out of Great Britain as a deterrent to other EU members that may be thinking of leaving or holding their own referendums. Chancellor Merkel has been a lot more conciliatory. Immediately after the Brexit referendum vote, she said there's no need to get nasty about negotiations, and she also said that Britain is going to need some time. She was really the only EU leader to say that. And so it'll be interesting to see what they have to say today, what message Theresa May delivered about what kind of time frame Britain would need, and how Merkel responded. But right now, Merkel may well be the friendliest face in Europe that Britain has.
Okay, Atika Schubert live for us in Berlin. Robin Oakley with us from London. Thank you both very much. And we are, of course, awaiting that live event of the German Chancellor Angela Merkel and Britain's new Prime Minister Theresa May, who are both expected to speak soon. We will go to that live when it happens.